Hey, hey, yous! Don't you dare put a fucking fly on that eye rock. I'll fucking come down there and break your fucking arm, you asshole. Who the fuck you think you are, huh? Huh? That shit really happened to me one time, man. That's a true life experience. Back in my formative days, I had this job handing out flyers. You know what I'm saying? We were putting some flyers out the Olive Garden underneath the windshield wipers of all the cars parked there. And this dude, I guess, was watching us through the window. He had his IROC Z out there, and he seen us come near the thing, putting the flyers on it. I didn't even go near the IROC yet, you know what I mean? I was like the next car over, you know what I'm saying? He said, hey, you break my fucking windshield wiper, I'm gonna break your fucking nose. He was going crazy right in my face. I said, hey, man, I'm just trying to, I was a college boy trying to earn my money through school, man. I ain't looking for no trouble, bro. You know what I'm saying? We never broke any windshield wipers ever, except for that one time. I don't know if the statute of limitations ran out, but it was Base Mark's fault. Anyway, so here we are, man. Welcome back to Guitkits. We did like Guitkits like 2 weeks ago, and I'm doing it again. What the hell, man? I just want to talk, man. Hey, man. I like to talk. What can I say? Truth is, I got a special anniversary. This guitar right here, one of my favorite guitars on this planet, celebrates 100 years. 100 years of existence. 100 years of existence. And to boot, this year celebrates the 20th anniversary of my acquisition of this beautiful instrument. A beautiful instrument. And tomorrow, September 29th, marks the 20th anniversary of my complete restoration of it, which was practically nothing at all. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I acquired this guitar, a little bit about this guitar, and we'll talk about it, you know what I mean, unravel some mysteries. And as a bonus at the end, you know what I mean, we'll have a special reveal about the true transactions. So let me explain a little bit what's going on, man. I'll give you a little bit of background. Bobby G, man, started playing guitar in his formative years, started collecting guitars, started like restoring guitars. Now, there was a certain like environment that existed. There are certain conditions that existed for Bobby G about 20 years ago that led to him to have a little bit extra scratch. Start collecting guitars. One, still live with my mom, right? Two, I had a girlfriend who lived out in California, man. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't taking nobody out on regular dates or nothing like that, man. And back then, it was right after September 11th. It was, you know what I mean? Round trip flight for like $99, man. You know, we just go there, see like a mansion, and then Encino Hills, man. You know what I'm saying? We never even left the house. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Didn't spend no money, had all kinds of cash, had a good job. You know what I'm saying? I had all kinds of reasons why I started collecting guitars and then restoring guitars. Because I had a lot of, you know what I mean, extra money. And that's somebody who likes to collect stuff, restore stuff. You know what I'm saying? Preconditioning existent, man. So, this particular instrument, I spotted on eBay about 20 years ago. I think I paid about $300 for it. I don't know, man. Right around the time I acquired this instrument, I also acquired my first 100-year-old guitar that was made in the 1800s back then. Man, I was really excited about it. You know what I mean? I don't know if I bought it on the same day as this. I think I paid like 75 bucks for it. I don't really remember. You know what I'm saying? So the true reveal at the end of this episode will be I've already requested some reports from eBay because I don't have any of those emails left. That was 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? You know what happened to them? No. But eBay still has the records deep in their archives. So we'll get kind of an idea how much I paid for it and true, what date I got it from. You know what I'm saying? And we'll see what date we purchased that 1800s guitar. So we got all kinds of cool stuff going on in this episode. Let's talk a little bit about this particular model. I always thought when I got it and it was advertised as an L-1. I recently, though, went through some old Gibson catalogs from like 1922 era, 1923, around about 1920. And I think it might be an L-2, which is a little bit rare. So we'll go through them together. You know what I mean? And make a true determination. Could be an L1, could be L2. Poor the label's ripped off. You know what I mean? We'll never really know. Now, this is actually, you know, in this shape here, man, this particular instrument was designed by the great Orville Gibson. You know what I mean? There'd be no Gibson without Orville Gibson. We'll give you a little history about Gibson. You know what I'm saying? It was a very sad story. Orville Gibson was a genius luthier. He was a gifted prodigy on the guitar. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, he was not a businessman. He was, you know what I mean, needled by some very unscrupulous pricks. Very unscrupulous businessmen. Were totally, you know what I mean, sent old Orville, you know what I mean. He like ended up in a mental institution for, you know what I mean, like 10 years, something like that, and he died like in poverty, like a cottage's brother owned up in New York State or some crazy shit like that, man. Poor Orville Gibson. He was totally abused by these prick businessmen, man. Pieces of shit pricks, man. That's early Gibson. But, you know what I mean? For me, I had a pretty good experience with Gibson, I guess, when I first got his instrument. They kind of helped me out, you know what I'm saying? Trying to identify it, and they gave me some little details. The early truss rod, you know what I'm saying? That was, you know what I mean? Put it around 1922. They said, you know what I mean? They really didn't know too much. You know, they couldn't help me out, and I got a little bit frustrated. I was like, "Hey, man, let me talk to your archivist. Let me talk to your supervisor." So I talked. I got made all kinds of contacts at the Gibson company at the time. So it was cool, man. You know, I mean, I was like, you know, Gibson, man. I was down with Gibson, man. Anyway, but you know, they helped me determine this is definitely a 1922 instrument, and we'll go over, you know, certain other little distinguishing features together. That sort of proves this 100 years on this beautiful planet. And that's about it, man. You know what I'm saying? I can't really offer you too much more than that because I don't have too much more than that to offer you. You know what I mean? But I will tell you that this particular instrument, in the history of regrets of Bobby G, man, definitely holds a top spot because I remember when I got this instrument, and I also got the guitar from the 1800s. I remember I hurriedly went over to Dr. Petillo's house. You know what I mean? He has a workshop down in the basement, man. And I went downstairs and said, "Hey, Dr. Petillo, Dr. Petillo, I want you to see something, Dr. Petillo." You know what I mean? And he was like, "Oh, what's that?" You know what I mean? And I opened up the case. He's like, his eyes lit up, man. And you know what I mean? I was like a wizard, you know what I mean? He's like, "Oh." And like he was looking through it. He's like, "This is beautiful." You know what I mean? And the guitar, when I got it, man, it'd been in action the whole time. It wasn't like a decrepit guitar. It was strung up. It was, you know what I mean, at pitch. It had been played. It was like one or two owner guitar. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. I think it belonged to granddad and it was played by grandson, something like that. But anyway, so it was like, you know what I mean? It was definitely very bad, horrible condition. It had all, you know what I mean? The same condition as now. The only thing I did, I changed this tailpiece. That's it. That's it. And I remember Dr. Petillo was so excited about it. I remember David Petillo, he was like coming home from high school or something like that, and he was like checking out the guitar too. You know, at that time he was like, you know what I mean? He was working as sort of like, you know what I mean, apprentice to his dad. And they got into like, you know what I mean, kind of not an argument, but like discussion of should we or should we not loosen the tension in the truss rod. And the action was excellent on it. And Dave Till's like, "Later, let's loosen it." And the doctor Till's like, "No, let's not loosen it. The action is excellent." He's like, the problem with the guitars is it's become a flat top. This was originally an arch top, a carved arch top that's been, you know what I mean, flattened in. Something wrong with the bracing, something wrong with the wood. And Dr. Petillo gave us whole, you know what I mean, speech about me and Dave Petillo. We're like, "Wow, man, this guy's a genius, off the charts, man." And so I was already, you know what I mean, like in love with this instrument, and I'd already been playing it for a couple of days. You know what I mean? You know, he was Dr. Petillo was a really like he wanted to restore it. He wanted to like, you know what I mean, get it back to like original condition. He was excited about it. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what I mean? I kind of like the way it plays, I like the way it sounds. You know what I mean? I'm just keep it the way it is. And he was talking about like the warm sandbags to get this out and redoing this, and he was all kind of. He showed me a piece of woolly mammoth tusk. He was gonna make a new, you know, a tusk like. You know, then at first he's like, you know, I regularly charge like $500-600 to do this, but for you, Bobby G, what, you know, just on parts. And I remember the second time I went down here, you know, what I mean, after I got it, you know, he had a list, you know, what I mean, like $128, something like that. That's just at cost of parts. He was gonna do it just because he was excited because it was one of the first truss rods. It's an early Gibson. He was like, you know what I mean? He was really excited about it, and I was like, no. And at the time, I had that 1800s guitar, and I wanted him to help me sort of restore that on my own, and he did. You know, he walked me through it. He was one of them, man. I talked about that in an episode called History of Guitar. You can check it out below. And this guitar was featured in it as well as a guitar from the 1800s. But that's one of the biggest regrets of my life. You know what I mean? Is I did not, you know what I mean, take him up on help me restore this guitar. Actually, pretty much him restored it, right? And we just sort of, woohoo. It would have been the greatest experience of my life. You know what I mean? I truly regret it, man. Yeah, but I'm not gonna restore it unless David Petillo wants to. You know what I mean? Because he's the greatest living luthier now, in my heart, man. So we're gonna flip you around like a family, man. Because I'm feeling real sentimental now, seeing this guitar being so close to it and hearing my voice reverberate inside of it. It's a great instrument. It's one of my favorite things on the planet. I've had it for 20 years. It's existed for 100 years. I don't know much about it other than what I've told you. So I'm gonna flip you around. We're gonna take a look at it together. Can you handle that? Can you handle it? Okay. One, two. Hey, don't touch that eye rock. It's not yours. So there it is. The case it came in so many years ago on eBay. First time I laid eyes on this case, it was 20 years ago today. Anyway, man. I remember that the seller said it was like a, ooh, I always loved it. It was like a one-man guitar, heavily modified by grandfather and uncle, something like that. You know what I mean? Gorgeous, I love it. Orange tone, popping on through. Let's get this girl out of the case, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's give her a better gander. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, non-original case. You served your purpose well. We'll see you later. Peace be with you. There it is, man. Now, I was talking some very harsh language before about the early Gibson executives, man. They were a bunch of lawyers, investors, things like that, man. I say the word lawyer right off the bat. People are like, oh, I got you. Let me get a little bit deeper in that, man, because I got a lot of vitriol. You know what I mean? I got a lot of vitriol, and it's a little bit misplaced. So I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm so angry about how Orville Gibson was done dirty, man. I want you to know the details, you know, that haven't been filtered through some kind of corporate pamphlet with a picture of Orville Gibson looking all handsome. You know what I'm saying? What happened was, man, my man Orville Gibson was a guitar genius, man. He was not only a great luthier, but he was a fantastic player, man. He was one of the best. You know what I'm saying? He was a lefty too in the early days, man, where they would like, you know, beat up left-handed people just on purpose, man. You know what I'm saying? Tie them to a tree. You know what I mean? And cut off their earlobes. I don't know what the fuck they did. All kinds of messed up things to the lefties of the past, man. But anyway, maybe that's why he was all fucked up. You know, he showed up in Kalamazoo. Supposedly, he went in search of Kellogg, you know, because he's real health conscious. He's a little crazy, you know what I mean? And he just, you know what I mean, got into lutherie, building his own guitars. You know, some of the early pictures, he was just playing like regular old parlor guitars, you know what I'm saying? Anyhow, man. So what happened was, 1890s, he patented this carved top, man. This whole brown thing here, you see this round, how it's got this big circle? Oh, sorry about that, Gibson. That's Orville's thing, man. The big circle bottom, man. Fat bottom circle. See that, man? That's Gibson, man. That's him, man. That's Orville Gibson, man. This is a model he designed himself. Now, essentially what happened is these bankers with their cigars got together and they sat him down and said, "Oh, Gibson." He was making mandolins, and he had designed a mandolin shaped like this with a little, you know what I mean, curly Q. So it also said the Gibson on the top of it. That was starting to take over, you know what I mean, the world, man, because it had a carved top, carved back, and it was different, man. It was a different kind of sound. It sounded great. You know what I'm saying? He was like a whiz with getting like instruments with these steel strings, which were new, to not break, you know what I mean, to not, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, warp, you know what I'm saying? You know the trials and tribulations of the early days of guitar, man. It's terrible. Some terrible, terrible, ugly, ugly repairs done on this thing. I remember when Dr. Petillo seen it, he's like, oh, that's the sound he made, man. And then he looked at this and he pointed to David. He's like, David's like, oh. These are on upside down. They originally had like square Waverleys, I believe. Square white buttoned Waverleys. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, man, they sat him down, you know, said, hey, you want a cigar? You smoke, man? You want Coca-Cola? You want to sniff it? You know what I'm saying? They got them all loose, man. They said, yeah, we're going to give you $2,500, man. 25 fresh American dollars. You know what I mean? Keep working for us for the rest of your life and let us use your name and likeness forever. You know what I mean? And you give us all the patents and designs and keep working as a consultant, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? And it's like $2,500. Old Orville Gibson, you know what I mean? Whoa, man. I get like all kinds of stuff with that, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what Gibson was into. He's a little bit strange, you know what I mean? Like 100,000 pounds of his cornflakes, man. You know what I'm saying? So he signed on the dotted line, you know what I'm saying? And a couple months went by, he got nothing, man. He's like, hey, man, he had already moved into a different apartment, man, you know what I'm saying? He was running late on his thing. Running into debt, you know what I'm saying? What's going on, man? And they're like, oh, you know what? Why don't we give you, instead of $2,500, 60 shares in the company? That's worth about $2,500, right? And they show him some kind of paper. You know what I'm saying? And Gibson he had to live off royalties really for a couple of years. It was nothing. You know what I mean? In the early years, he was getting paid Jack Schmidt. So he had to sell his, you know what I mean, sell his place, man. He was living in the factory. He was like clocking in, you know what I mean, when he woke up and clocking out when he went to bed, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, wait. You know, as a regular employee, they were just paying him on the clock. And they're like, no. You got to be paid when you're not sleeping. So, you know what I mean? So eventually he went to live at his brother's house, you know what I'm saying? His brother had, in 1907, had him, like, put in a mental institution, you know what I'm saying? And, like, you know, unfortunately, you know, he was eccentric there, you know what I mean? It cost a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? So the brother was like, I'm going to expose you guys. He went to the board and everything. The board's like, all right, so we're going to pay him, you know what I mean, $49.99 a month. You know what I mean? He wasn't even, this is 1908, he was in a mental institution from 1907 to 1913, you know what I'm saying? He was like totally, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, baked at that time. He was on all kinds of drugs and shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Getting like electric, you know, utensils inserted up his ass. I don't know what the fuck they did to people back there, man. Let us put him into the chair. Yes, the chair, Bertha, yes. You know what I'm saying? They tortured this poor man till 1913. And so they were paying like the $50 a month, you know what I mean? So we went to a better sanitarium. You know what I mean? As opposed to like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Auschwitz 1. You know what I'm saying? Like they, you know, the Gibson company paid for, you know what I mean, until 1913, and he moved back to New York State, you know, by the, you know, Finger Lakes, I think it was, you know what I mean? He just sort of lived out there, you know what I mean, poverty, you know what I'm saying? He died a couple years later. But at least he said he wasn't haunted because he thought that these lawyers were like, you know what I mean, trying to make him, there's like this one guy, man, he's trying to like make me invent motion picture with sound, man. I can't take it. He was like crazy about it. You know what I mean? He was like, you know what I mean? This was after he got out of a mental institution. You know what I mean? He went back to Gibson for a couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? And just like, you know what I mean? Having problems with the people there. I don't know what's going on. So this particular instrument, it's been pretty much, you know what I mean, modified. Now this here is, I said, a Gibson instrument. The original one had the same kind of loop-looking thing. And here was in the middle. It was like a celluloid sort of pins. They had pins in there, man. It was like a celluloid plastic inlay and like, you know what I mean, a little square thing, and it was like putting in there with the push pins. This is like, I believe, a Gibson part. You know what I mean? That they used to reissue a lot of these ones, these big tall wooden ones, man, and they needed adjustable because it. You know what I mean? The top kind of sank. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? After Gibson was in a mental institution, shit got fucked up. But another cool thing I must say about this particular instrument that is cool is the actual Gibson design from the early, you know what I mean, first 25 years of Gibson. You know what I'm saying? Also, it was produced during Lloyd Loar's helm shit of the, you know what I mean? He was the one who was in charge of the creative design from 1919 to 1924, I believe, were the dates. Something like that, man. Lloyd Loar, you know what I mean? He was known as the one who sort of took Orville Gibson's original ideas and like improved them sonically from a scientific point, man. He was also another prodigy, you know what I mean? Kind of like Gibson, but he wasn't like, you know what I mean? He was somebody who people took advantage of him, he just left, you know what I mean? He's like, fuck you and the horse your mother rode in on, you know what I'm saying? I believe I might have replaced these two. I don't know if it had. I have pictures when I first got it out of the box. We'll take a look at that. Looking at it, I put this on. I put this on. That's it. I just put these little risers here because originally the guy had the bridge up here, but it wasn't intonating because it wasn't reaching over this. Look at this action, man. Slinky action. You know? Wasn't like hitting one of these frets. I was like, oh no, you know what I mean? Up here. I move it back here where it should have been intonated. It was definitely hitting it all. I was like, this is something wrong, you know? So I just built it like a little riser. I believe I replaced one of the bottom risers with one that was a little taller a couple of years back because it was had sunken a little bit more over the past 20 years. Whatever, man. You know what I mean? At least I didn't have Dr. Petillo like spent all his time fixing it. I would feel like I couldn't play it. You know what I mean? I'll keep that one. No. Touch, man. You know what I'm saying? This is called the Monday morning quarterback kind of thing, man. So like I was showing you back here, there's all kinds of like primordial shit going on, man. You know what I'm saying? This was a lot of people hacked away on these V-necks, man. They hated them. You know, so the original tuners always failed. This right here was one of the last slanted Gibson. You know what I'm saying? Slanted Gibson, the Gibson. In late 22, it became like more like straightened out right on the top. You know what I mean? And also in late 22, you know what I mean, right after that happened or before that happened, oh, sorry, Orville. Wilbur too, man. You know what I mean? They changed this from, I believe it was called orange. It's called orange top in Gibson's terminology, I believe. It said orange top and it had all the dimensions and shit. And they gave me the actual date. That, you know what I mean? Something like April 2nd, 1922, that all Gibsons coming out of Kalamazoo had a truss rod except for the L-1 Junior, which had no binding, right? Had no binding. It was just like a wooden, it was like a budget model. You know what I mean? Like finished in like, you know what I mean, piss. Like rub piss into it. But it was not any kind of piss. It was like, you know what I mean? It was piss that belonged to the lawyers, you know what I mean? Special piss. Oh, and didn't have a truss rod. Anyway, you learn anything? Hope so, man. I mean, so we're almost done, man. So we got the eBay reveal, and we got the pictures, you know. Surprisingly, you know what I mean? I didn't really do anything to this horrible cast of characters, and all the wood was there. Horrible things that were done to this guitar. You're nightmares. Experimentation. Now, Bobby G of today, if he was getting his guitar, I would be just like Dr. Petillo. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll take it apart, or I'll disassemble it completely. Fuck the mojo. You know? This guy's gonna look beautiful. I get it shining like a new dime. But at this point in the game, you know what I mean? I'd only redo this guitar if David Petillo, you know what I mean, volunteered to help me do it, man. You know what I mean? Because he's the greatest luthier on the planet. Other than that, it's gonna stay the way it is, man. You know what I mean? So this is it, man. I got nothing else to say. I showed you the, you know what I mean, goods. I showed you the bads. I showed you everything about it. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna show you some old pictures, some photographs, man. You know what I'm saying? Every time I see your face in my mind, and look at this. I want to show you this too. There's no, look, all the binding is off the side of the fretboard. You see that, man? This is originally a bound fretboard. And this is a plastic, like Les Paul nut from like the 70s, man. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man. Crazy. These are probably from the 50s. Every time I see your face, I'll show you those pictures now. Memories on the corner of my mind. Misty satin watercolored memories of the way we were. Listen to this, folks. This is me 20 years ago after I unboxed this beautiful guitar. Kind of looks Sheridan Brown in this photograph, man. But you can see that orange peeking through, man. Shining through, man. Anyway, it's very, very dirty. You can see it's fully strung. You can see that the bridge has been knocked out of place in this photograph here. See, I'm wearing that shirt from last week. Tail of Two Temples. That shirt was 10 years in that picture. I've had that shirt for 30 years now, man. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Believe it, man. I'm telling you, I don't lie to you people. Anything. There it is, right after I got it out of the box, man. And it was a, you know what I mean, very dirty instrument, but it was, you know, definitely a player, man. It had been played, you know what I mean, for a long time. This photograph here is dated 7202. 7202 Walgreens. So that's when it was developed, man. Remember what developing was? This is later on that day. Right after I got it, I cleaned it up. I didn't change anything out on it. It's still got that cheese bird tailpiece on there. I just cleaned up all those marks I could possibly go off in the first day. See, it's still got some marks on it there that don't exist anymore, but I tried to get all that dirt off of it, a lot of scum off of it. And I tried to tune it up, you know what I mean, pushing this thing up and down. And then I realized what I had to do to this particular instrument is I had to get a couple wedges underneath that, you know what I mean, guitar, and I'll show you that a little bit later down the glamour shots. Man, I want to show you that closely, you know what I mean. And this guitar photograph here is also dated, I believe, the 2nd of July, 2002. Right. So that's when I first got it. The day I first got it. You know what I mean? This is toward the end of the summertime, I believe. Might have been like exactly. Let's take a look at the date on this one. This is after the day I was done restoring it. I had one photograph left on my camera. See, I got all that scum off of it. So you see, you still see pockets of scum. I got all the scum off of it. This is what it looks like today, really. You know what I mean? No different. I put a Gibson tailpiece on it. You know what I mean? I boosted that little bridge up and put it, intonated correctly. Let's take a look at the date on this particular photograph here. I want to get it in focus, my phone, people. Look at that. 9/29/02. You see that? That's exactly 20 years from tomorrow. Exactly 20 years from tomorrow, Guitkit family. It was the day that I finished, you know what I mean, getting this guy up to speed. And I brought it immediately to Walgreens and got the film developed. And I was like, oh. And this guitar became peas and carrots with me. I was all over the place with it. I like to play it and touch on it. This is me like Christmas time, man. Down in my this is like the man cave down in the basement of my mom's house. That's where I had a Marshall down here. This is my grandfather's chord organ. My brother and I had like a little, my brother lifting weights and I was playing guitar, man. You know what I mean? Sensitive and tough guys hanging out together. That's me playing the guitar. Christmas time, I believe. Let's see here. What's the date? December 2nd. December 2, 2002. Yeah, that's like the Christmas spirit anyway. I was wearing a turtleneck. That's it, man. 20 years ago, man. So, now that we've done the little photo tour, wait till I get that report back from eBay. We'll go to the unveiling. Find out exactly how much we paid for this guitar. The exact date we paid for it. And exactly what date in proportion to that, 19th century guitar. I believe I bid on them on the same day. I'm not sure. We will see what data can be found in the archives of eBay and all their powers. Peace be with you. Look after yourself. All right, folks. So here's the grand reveal, man. I got the report finally back from eBay. You know what I mean? They were able to track my history back to the wee days, the early days of eBay, to get this information from 20 years ago, just so we can revel in it. Now, I actually bid. This is a bid history report. Now, this does not mean this is the price that I paid. This was the high bid that I put for these two items on the exact same day. You know what I'm saying? Within a couple hours from each other. The first one that I bid on was in the morning. Was the 1800s guitar. Old antique guitar, lovely burl and ivory bone. You know what I'm saying? It's one of my favorite guitars also. I bid a max of $116.99 and I won it. Let's see that. This is when I placed that bid at 11 a.m. You know what I'm saying? And then my top bid was $618.99 for this Gibson L-1 question mark. You know what I'm saying? Now, back in the day in eBay, you didn't have to use PayPal or something like that. You could send them a check, money order, whatever you wanted, really. But it was like, you know what I'm saying? The wild old west, really. You know what I'm saying? So, I have no idea what the final bid on this guitar was, but I went through PayPal, you know what I mean, which is an eBay company for the L1, so I know exactly, you know what I'm saying. I paid, you know what I mean, on the 23rd of June 2002 for a Gibson 1920s L-1 question mark. The winning bid was $587.77. Shipping was $20. There was no tax. You know what I'm saying? There was no fucking tax, man. So it actually cost me a little bit more than I recalled, man. I thought I paid like $400 for it. I ended up paying like $600 for this fucking thing, man. You know what I'm saying? Wow, I can't even get a hold of the seller, man, because the seller's been deleted, man. Been deleted. I believe that I do have some records of some correspondences on my phone, though, if I ever wanted to track them down, man. My old, you know what I'm saying, account, I could figure that shit out, man. But I don't really care that much. So, let's talk a little bit more about, is this really an L1? You know what I'm saying? Have I been lying to the people this whole time, man? And is it really a 1922 L1? So here's reverb. Everybody knows about reverb. How to date a Gibson using serial numbers, FONs, and logos. What's that, man? What's a logo, man? Logo, man. First, it goes through, you know what I mean? We all know it's the Gibson, right? We all know about that, man. We don't have to be stupefied. The first thing that goes into this FON thing. Now, when I was younger, I didn't really give a fuck about FON. I was like, phone home, motherfucker. I don't know what that means, man. What is an FON? Couldn't find any other numbers on the guitar. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know what an FON is. But then, slowly, surely, I actually found out that every single Gibson instrument, even if they don't have a serial number, has an FON stamped. If it's, you know, a guitar and it's an acoustic instrument, it's stamped right on the neck block, man. Right on the inside of the guitar, on the neck block. So, you know what I'm saying? That's the hint, man. Now, for the years from 1917 to 1923, you always see this range and everything. You know what I'm saying? So they moved about, you know what I mean, 1,000 batches. Now, a batch had about 40 instruments, I believe. Between 40 and 50 instruments, I believe, was the standard. So, I spent some time a couple years back, and I came up with a chart. You know what I mean? I use like the serial numbers, because you can go through the serial numbers too. You know what I'm saying? Because in 1924, they started putting a suffix, like an A, B, or C, or I think it was just an A, through 1925, and they started again 1925, 1931, over again. And right around 1922, they dropped the 1-1, because it went up to 1-1, I think 393. And then it started, you know what I mean, to 394, 395. The batch numbers, they got rid of the 1-1 in early 1922. So, you know what I'm saying? There are all different kinds of serial numbers, too, to take into play. If we don't have the serial number, we know that. So we use the serial numbers to generate, you know what I mean, basic, you know, FON guidance things. And I came with a better chart, an exclusive Bobby G chart, man, for the FON numbers to make things a little easier, man. You know, this is the FON guide right here. You want to take a screenshot of this if you're ever going to do research, man. So 1917, the batch numbers are usually on the neck block between 11, blah, 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 blah. You know, and you can read. You know what I'm saying? Now, somewhere in the 8s, you know, they dropped the 11 prefix. They dropped the 11 prefix, and I believe somebody also said that that only goes up to like 941 or 939. You know what I'm saying? In 1923, they didn't do very much production. They were pretty much gearing up, you know what I mean, to work on banjos, because banjos is the big thing. You know what I'm saying? So they dropped this prefix like right around here, and it just went to 8. Maybe around 900, they dropped the 11. So let's check out right now our special number on our guitar, shall we? Let's see here, looking directly into the hole here. That looks to be definitely a 3 digit there. This looks to be 24. It's the only thing I can make up. Definitely a 3-digit number with 24. So that would make this guitar, has to be a 924. It's the only number it can be, because they started, you know what I mean, right around 900 going to the 3 digits. So 924 places it firmly 1922. It's definitely 3 digits. Looks like 227 to me, Thelma. Mm-hmm. 100 years ago. Isn't that incredible? That is incredible. And even more incredible is I want to know something else. This is really, really, really from the L1 line. Now let's go back to here, man. Now, a Gibson L1 from 1922 looks kind of like this. It's Sheridan Brown was the color really featured on that year. Now, they're very rare to find one of these like this one that has the truss rod, which was invented in the year 1921. And in October 21 was the first year they started putting this truss rod cover in. Now, there weren't very many L1s produced after 1920, and I'll tell you why, man. Now, here is the 1903 Gibson catalog. It's the first Gibson catalog ever, man. This is when Orville Gibson was with the company. You know what I'm saying? Now, in the L line, I know this is a little bit, it's a little scandalous, hard to read. I'm going to zoom it in a little bit because I have respect for my reader, man. I have respect for you. You know what I'm saying? You, the American people. I can't even read this shit myself, man. Should have more respect for me, the American person, too, man. This is still focusing in. There we go. A little bit better. A little bit better there. Sorry, a little bit focus in time. So, the Gibson guitar, style L, you know what I'm saying? LLL. Had straight grain Norwegian spruce top. That's the soundboard. Beautiful orange finish. See that? Orange finish was one of Orville's things, man. Thoroughly seasoned maple rim, neck back, dark mahogany finish, highly polished veneered headpiece, oval fingerboard, 21 narrow frets, pearl position dots, round sound hole, inlaid with fancy colored woods. Now, the L0, you know what I'm saying, was 44, 32, which became, I believe, the L1 Junior or the L Junior later on in the run. The L1, which we've been, that was the next up on the pecking order. The same guitar, only thing difference, it had binding on it. Binding when I went up to L1. And the price goes up, about $9. For the bigger size, it goes up about, $10 more on that. You know what I'm saying? And now the next one up was L2. This is from Orville's original catalog himself, man. Now, what did the L2 have? These are all pretty much the same guitar. This one had an inlay on the upper edge of the rim. You know what I'm saying? There are 3 rings of fancy color. Well, there's a couple more little add-ons. And the standard size, you know what I'm saying, was $20 over the cover price. You know what I'm saying? And that's the end of that page. So let's move over here. So I want you to see the other style, man. This is going to tie the whole room together, man. You know what I'm saying? Eventually. L3. Right? L3 was the big boy, man. $75. You know what I'm saying? It had all kinds of 3 rings and ivory binding inlaid in the upper edge of the rim. You know what I'm saying? It had pearl ornaments. You know what I'm saying? This is like the L3 was the top shit. Now, right around 1908, the L4, which was even crazier, that debuted. You know what I mean? But the L1 and the L4 are pretty much the guitars that they conquered the world with. You know what I mean? The L series. Now, here's the 1921 Gibson catalog, right? Now, here is the L1, you know what I'm saying, which is pretty much the only guitar. We got a harp guitar in the catalog. Then we have the L1, which is the old standby. You know what I'm saying? And it goes right to the L3, which is the big guy. And it goes to the L4. But we don't see any L2s being produced, right? And that's 1921, right before they invented the truss rod. See that? See that? Let's take a good look at it. There is no truss rod to be found on that motherfucker. No truss rod on there, man. Now, the 1923 catalog, which of course was done in the year 1922, featured this beautiful instrument. You know what I'm saying? Looks like our instrument, right? Right? Wrong. That's the L2, man. This is L2 on there, man. Let me zoom in on that, eh? You see that, man? L2. I'm not lying to you all, man. You know what I'm saying? They're going crazy about the L2 in 1923. So all the 1922, you know what I'm saying? Here's the previous page, right? What do they talk about there? They talk about L-4, right? All of a sudden, L-1's gone from the catalog. Now, the difference between, saying that the guitar they were marketing in 1921 and the guitar they were marketing in 1922 and 1923. See this, man? It talks about here, man. The truss rod, right? See that truss rod in the neck? Now, the main thing that you want to pay attention to right here is this first line here. The popular new light amber finish shows the natural beauty of the fine wood, man. Light amber finish, just like our instrument. And again, a 1922 L-1, Sheridan Brown. Here's the catalog right here. L-1, right? I'll tell you right here. There's the color right here. You know what I'm saying? Shading brown. You know what I'm saying? Brown. Sheridan, beautiful Sheridan Brown. Right there. Sheridan Brown. You know what I'm saying? That's Sheridan Brown. Now, this has to be a 1922 instrument because the ones made in 1923 for 1924 market. Here's a 1924 Gibson L-2, right? You know what I'm saying? That's the back of it. Look at the top. Snakehead, man. It's got a snakehead top, man. This is the Jake Wildwood side. See, but it's other than that, it's the L-2 is totally our instrument, right? So this has to be one of those rare, you know what I'm saying? Very, very rare 1922 L2s, right? That's being L2 because of that orange color, I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Has to be. No snakehead. So this is kind of rare than I thought, this instrument. So there you go, about 14 minutes of time. You know what I'm saying? Wasted. Nobody likes wasting time like Bobby G. Peace be with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take you to the glamour shots right now. What an instrument, man. What a beautiful instrument that is. L1, L2, they're all pretty much the same. Does it really matter? I think it's an L2 now. It doesn't matter. I just love this instrument. I really do. Something about it. You know what I'm saying? There's something about it. It's fucked up. But its vibe is excellent, you know? And here's the instrument that I bought on the same exact day 20 years ago. I bid on it at least. You know what I'm saying? I believe it was like 75 bucks. We'll never know really though, will we? Now this particular instrument I spent a lot of time restoring it, you know, and getting it good because it was real fucked up. And I spent some time recently, you know what I mean, not too long ago. It had like a real medieval repair on the neck there. The neck heel and everything. I fixed it. You can actually find both of these videos are featured in Guitkits Guits number 10, I believe it was. History of the guitar. I'll put that link below. You can check that out, man. I actually put some better strings on this instrument too. It had some Labella folk singer strings on it. I put a set of these Savarezes on there. I was thinking of putting a set of these on here also on that Vienna guitar that we did over the summertime, but I need a little bit more tension because that guitar was like very, very low action. We're not talking about that, man. We're talking about this one. You know, that's just a little update for the same day, man. The same day sale, man. So 20 years ago, man, I purchased this particular instrument. So in honor of the 20th anniversary of my ownership of this 100-year-old instrument, let's go back to when this guitar turned 20 years old. Back to the year 1942, right? Now, let's also talk about 30 years ago. How an awkward teenager in the midst of the grunge era, right away to one of his favorite pop stars, hoping to get his autograph, and how overjoyed he was when it came in the mail, the autograph back to him. Now that awkward teenager 30 years ago was me. You want to see the autograph? I have it right here, man. What? Who's that? There's a photograph of him. What? Putting me on, right? He was like 1,000 years old, too. What are you talking about, Bobby G? So let's go back to 1942. That gentleman sang a song, was one of the last hits by one of the greatest bands of all time. And it was an homage to a word that's printed on this label here. Just take a good look at this label. Look at that last line down here, man. See that last line? Let me get a good focus again. says down there. The last word, the last line. Hey there, Tex, how's your new romance? I'm going to tie the room together right now, people. The one you met at the campus dance. Learn about it. And there we go, man. There we go. One of my favorite instruments on this planet. Celebrates a century. 20 years in my hands. Gibson L-2, L-1, L not late for dinner, I don't know. Guitar's pretty much been, you know what I mean, stored, tuned to pitch for 100 years, you know. It's never had any real professional maintenance. It's been maintained, but not professionally. It still sounds incredible. Doesn't that sound incredible? And I'll say something else about these Kluson bells back here, man. I got this thing out of the closet a couple days ago. I tuned it one time. I haven't tuned it since. It's a Gibson, man. 100 years ago. It was, you know what I'm saying, Lloyd Loar. The greatest hero of Gibson to Les Paul. Another thing I really like about this guitar, and I like recording with it, is the fact that it has this great, weird, kind of like staccato sound. You know what I'm saying? It has this great sort of crunch, you know, almost like electric sounding acoustic. It's pretty crazy, man. I love it. A little buzzy. It's got that real sleepy action, man. It's great. So anyway, celebrating a century. We're celebrating 20 years of Bobby G owning this beautiful instrument. So let's go back 30 years, man. 30 years ago, my grandpa Jim finally gave up his LP collection of Bobby G, man. He said, I want you to have them, Bobby. You have them. And most of his LPs, he had like the Time Life Big Band era set, which was cool. It was like from the late 60s, I believe. All kinds of like time life curated cuts, I believe. Most of them were re-recordings with like some of the original people. But that wasn't the highlight for me. The highlight, he had like pretty much every Glenn Miller 33 1/3 album ever that came out until like 1960. And I just immersed myself in those records, man. You know, for like a whole year, I just like lived in 1939 to 1942. Up until Glenn got in the Army Air Force, man, I kept saying, Glenn, don't do it! It's a trap! But unfortunately, I wasn't able to time travel until recently. You know, I can't go back that far now. Sorry, Glenn. Glenn Miller's Hamburgers. So, I studied those songs like the Bible, you know. And the next year, 1993, I was accepted to Gettysburg College for the summer semester. It was called the Civil War Institute. And 1993 was like the 130th anniversary of the Gettysburg, you know, extravaganza of war, you know what I'm saying? The Civil War, man. You know what I'm saying? And we toured the battlefield with the top scholars, you know what I mean, in the whole planet, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Showed us the battlefield and everything. And, you know, there's all kinds of nerds there, of course. Bobby G, man, was there. Full scholarship, of course. And there was only one pretty girl in that whole fucking college that summer. And she was from Kalamazoo, man. Big hit, 1942. This last big hit. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I got a gun in Kalamazoo. I don't want to boast, but I know she's the toast of Kalamazoo. Years are gone by, how she do. I'll make my bid for the freckle-faced kid I'm hurrying to. I'm going to Michigan to see the sweetest girl in Kalamazoo. Peace with you in Kalamazoo.
Peace with you, Glenn Miller too. Rest in peace, everybody else. Pretty girl from Kalamazoo, wash your hands. Peace be with you. Happy October, coming very soon. See you next time, if there's a next time. Hope there is. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Gibson, L-2, L-1.